Welcome to the Be It Till You See It podcast, where we talk about taking messy action, knowing that perfect is boring. I'm Lesley Logan, Pilates instructor and fitness business coach. I've trained thousands of people around the world, and the number one thing I see stopping people from achieving anything is self-doubt. My friends, action brings clarity, and it's the antidote to fear. Each week, my guests will bring bold, executable, intrinsic, and targeted steps that you can use to put yourself first and be it till you see it. It's a practice, not a perfect. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Be It Till You See It interview recap, where my co-host in life, Brad, and I are going to dig into the growth-oriented convo I had with Chris Goodman in our last episode. It could have been the fear-freeing convo, like a free of fear convo. It was such a fucking great conversation.
It was.
And
amazing.
One of the first times ever I was with you, not listening to the episode, but listening to you listen to the episode. And I just smiled because I was like, yeah, it's so fucking good. It's a fucking good episode. So if you haven't yet listened to that interview, feel free to pause us now, go back and listen to that one, and then come back and join us. Okay, so today, if you're listening to this in real time, thank you so much for being on top of it.
Oh, yeah.
We are welcoming our new batch of agency members, which is so fun. They're actually in what we call like Slack Mini, and they are like in a little training playground with each other, like learning how to use the tools, how to figure out where to find all the things, and then they graduate. And so hopefully by tomorrow, most of them are meeting all of our agency members who are so excited to see them because we just love when the community grows. It's so fun.
Yeah. So seriously, a big thank you for trusting us, and also a big congratulations for believing in yourself and your businesses. And welcome to welcome to agency.
Yeah, welcome to agency. Now, technically now, we're literally in the middle of our retreat here at our house for Profitable Pilates. This is our business retreat for fitness instructors, and we have the coolest group. Like, it is just a really intimate, awesome group. They're sharing a house together. Like, it's so freaking fun. Monica is going to be here in a couple days to take their pictures. Monica from Girl Squad, you'll know her. I think she's from episode, I want to say 13, but I could be. If I pulled that number out correctly, I'm going to be so proud of myself.
I'm going to have
to look. Yeah. So anyways, she's a badass and we love her. And so she's our photographer for the retreat, and she's taking all their headshots. And then while he's looking that up, we're like 2 weeks away from getting him on a plane.
Close.
What was it?
Episode 9.
Oh, it was so close. It was so weird. As soon as I said 13, the word 9 came in my number, and I was like, it wasn't 19. I think that was clear. Oh, well, I was so close. Well, 13 was great too. Whoever that was, it was amazing. But we're about to leave for Cambodia for our retreat there, and so many people have been asking like when it is going to be in 2023. And the truth is that I haven't planned that yet, because I actually am going to plan a 40th birthday party for myself, and we have a trip to Cabo, which may or may not become the birthday. I'm not entirely sure in this exact moment. And so we got to plan some vacations before we plan our next retreat, because those are not our vacations. Those are your vacations. And so you want to get on the wait list for the Cambodia retreat if you want to know when the 2023 one is.
Right. You have to get on the wait list. So if that's something you're interested in, just go to lesleylogan.co/retreat.
I know. I saw you look at me like, what wait list? For
No, you said those are your vacations, and it took me a minute to put together that you meant we're working when we go on the retreat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are.
It's like, because you were just talking about our vacations to Cabo, and then I got very confused. Yeah. But it's okay. We're good.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun. It's like the funnest work we could do, but
it might be one of my favorite things to do, but it is a very, very full week for us.
You are running up and down stairs, making sure breakfast is ready, making sure tables are where they need to be. You're like talking to all of our vendors all the time. Like, it is beautiful. And when we get to the temples, I am on vacation, and I'm also counting heads. I'm like, how many heads do we have? Is everyone here? Did anyone wander off of the temple? Okay. It's so fun. So anyways, get on that wait list so you can be the first to know, because our house only holds so many people. So we want it to be you. Okay.
Yeah. But first, we had an audience question today, and the question was actually about being business owners. You've heard us talk about the fact that we constantly have coaches in our corner, constantly reaching out to us or, working with us, and we're, reaching out to them, asking questions, all the things. And, but we've been doing that now for many years. Mm-hmm. And the question was, why? Why do you keep doing it? I mean, if you got coaching, do you need to keep getting coaching?
Well, I love this question. And in fact, I'm going to use one of our coaches' comments, which is be a product of your product. So if you are, what that means is if you're a coach, you have a coach. If you're a Pilates teacher, you're a Pilates teacher.
That was Chris.
No, Jill said it to us.
Oh, good. Well, yeah. Chris also said it in the interview.
Yeah. No, like yeah. And they keep saying it because it's true. And here's the reason, like you will encounter, we've talked about video games before with like, you like learn some of the little devil guys and then you beat them and then you learn the next level and you beat them and you see all of them in the castle with the princess. I'm talking about Mario and Luigi. And then you see all the ones you've already dominated and then you have a bigger one that you have the confidence to take on. And now you're at the new level. You're at this new level and there's like new things. Don't you want a guide to be like, hey, use this thing over here instead of this? Or would you prefer to wander around in circles trying to figure it out on your own? So hiring a coach, and you keep hiring them because at some point, unless they're continuing to grow, you get to a level where they are at and then they go, get out of my nest and go into someone else's. And it doesn't happen for everybody because sometimes like we are with one coaching group where like they continue to up level their offerings and services so that as we grow, there's another level for us. Similar for us in agency. I think we do a really good job bringing in coaches to help our members who've been with us for many years to take on their next level in a very cost-effective way compared to like what hiring those people could be outside. But I think if you are a teacher, you have a teacher, right? Like you look at lawyers, they take continuing education. Doctors take continuing education. Why do they keep taking continuing education? Because there's more things to learn.
Or also even CECs, if you're a fitness person, continuing education credits.
Yeah, lawyers have to take things. My mom goes to some sort of educational thing all the time. So the truth is, that
she's a first grade teacher. Yep.
Even
my
even your
that's
parents.
Funny. My dad, he's an accountant, and he would go to some big accounting work conference every year. Yep.
Yeah. So the truth is that the more we get to help people and the more we get to see where they're growing, the more we can see where we're growing, and hiring coaches to help us get there, not even necessarily faster, but it is, but also with like less pain and angst of growing, like, because they're like, hey, why don't you try it like this instead of that? I love that idea. It's a little bit too many things. Like, why don't you just get rid of that? And you're like, oh, well, thanks for saving me 17 hours building out those things I didn't need.
I was going to say, when I was starting my Amazon business, my partner told me, he's like, dude, I know myself. I am the person who is the perfectionist who needs to make sure that I'm not doing it wrong. Notice we didn't say we're doing it right in there, but there's that fear of not doing it wrong. And he said, I will be the one who spends 500 hours watching YouTube videos. I would much rather just talk to this guy who already built a full course to take us step by step through the process than to spend 500 hours watching videos. So we spent thousands of dollars to access this course and then have access to this person who had been where we were so that he didn't have to spend, and I think that's an incredibly, realistic argument because he's not alone in that. And also he knew himself really well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I think the more you know yourself, the easier it is to hire a coach too. Cause then you know the right coach to get for yourself. And please, if you're looking into getting a coach, make sure you're really clear on what you're looking for and ask people around you who are doing the things that you want to be doing if they work with a coach and who it was. So like you can just shorten the research process, but you should be able to get on a phone call with them, or you should be able to read some testimonials by them. And there is a level of trust that you have to have right off the bat with this coach that is a little bit like scary because it's a big investment. You don't know if this investment's going to be have the ROI, but if you go all in and you believe, you'd be surprised like how much you can get even from coach who are like, I'm not really.
I mean, yes, 100%, but I don't even think that that's, I have definitely gone in with skepticism before, no question. But I have certainly believed that coach has served others very well.
Yeah.
Right. They have a track record. Right. And so I think that most of the question is like, is it going to work for me? Even when you pull the trigger already and you hire said coach, the question really comes down to, is it going to work for me? And, I can't speak for everybody else's program, but I can say that inside of agency, we are very intentional about accountability. And, some people get frustrated at us, which is, I find funny. It's telling, because I'm that person too, where I'm like, damn, and
you procrastinated so long, you missed out on the accountability boundary, and then they're frustrated, kind of frustrated with yourself, but you're frustrated at the process that was holding you accountable in the first place.
Yeah,
I get that.
Yeah, and then anyway, so most of the coaches that you would be investigating have a track record, and you can see testimonials, and you can ask them about their experiences. So do that before you sign up if you have any skepticism.
Yeah. And and you don't, I'm not saying you have to go out and hire a coach today, or you have to hire a business coach even. But it's always nice to have, and we've talked about this, and I forget which episode, and it was James Altucher, but Brad never could find the episode, but it was definitely him. I'm not going to take it from him. It was plus equals minus. We all have to have people that are above us. We have to have people that are level, and we have people below us. You and I were just in Nashville. We were with our coaches who are above us. They were guiding the conversation. We were networking with people who are equals, and all of us there have some process program that coaches people who are not where we are yet.
Right.
And so what's really cool when you hire someone who is your plus, you take the guessing game out, and maybe it's in life, and maybe it's in business, or maybe it's something else, maybe it's a meditation. Could be having someone who is further ahead in something that you're interested in really does help you feel secure, even when you feel insecure.
Yeah. And it doesn't just have to be in business. Growing up, I was always a firm believer of a mentor, right? As opposed to today, I hire a business coach. They're the same thing. But with a mentor, I was willing to share my life, intimate details of my life with people in authority. When I was really young, it was a pastor or even a youth pastor. And then as I got into college, it was my professors, some of them, and then after college is when really it became mostly focused about business and less about my personal life, until I hired an executive coach, and he was like, hey, look, all that stuff you're going to be able to figure out. We need to talk about you. And I was like, what?
But that's also why you have someone to kind of remind you, hey, let's go talk about you.
Yeah.
So speaking of coaching, if you don't work with us or you hire someone else, maybe you end up falling for Chris's guidance, and he's got some coaches on the team. So let's talk about Chris Goodman.
Yeah. When Chris isn't kayaking or watching his 6-month-old daughter, Chris Goodman can be found coaching entrepreneurs and CEOs, or recording a new episode for his podcast, Relentless Growth, which we'll throw into the show notes. He is on a mission to help clients find their own personal vision of freedom, fulfillment, and impact on a global scale. He brings 15,000 plus hours of coaching and training to every conversation that he has, and has a reputation for asking tough, transformative questions in an approachable way.
Agreed on that bio.
Yeah.
I co-sign. Well, one thing I loved was a decision rooted in fear will create results rooted in fear. And don't we know this? It's the same thing if you plant a seed in soil that is has no nutrients, it's not growing. You can water it all you want. It's not going to grow. So it's
that's an interesting analogy. I like that.
Yeah. So, I think
we you know what? Let's make that a little bit even more real. We moved into our house a couple years back, and the backyard was completely empty, and it was really actually annoyingly empty. And it was like, we need to plant some stuff here.
It looked really weird.
It was just a big box. It was so strange. And so we started getting palm trees. And I asked around, and we found a landscaping guy, and I said, hey man, I don't actually know what I'm doing here. I need help, and would you be willing to come work with us? And he told me, oh man, palm trees, like, they're impossible to kill. These things are amazing trees. You can plant them anywhere and they're gonna survive. And I was like, amazing. So we ended up getting, I don't know, a half dozen or a dozen off of Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace, and like just through word of mouth, like people were like, I don't want these anymore. Get them out of my yard. I was like, great. So we would go and get these trees and plant them. And we put one in the corner in the back of the yard area, and it died. And I was like, how come all these other trees are blossoming? They're going just fine. But this one just, didn't make it. And because when I planted it, it was like medium height compared to the other ones. It should have been just fine. And I was talking to my neighbor one day, and I said, I don't get it. This is so weird. And she said, I think I know. She said, years ago, there was a pool in this backyard, and that is where all the pool equipment was stored, right next to that. So I wonder if there was chlorine that leaked into the soil.
Oh, that's so fascinating. That is so fascinating. So, yeah. So just to tie that back, when you are making decisions about anything, if you have fear around them, before you officially make that decision, can you have a little rubber band around your wrist, snap it, and then take a moment, because
you need to do something to clear the chlorine.
You need to clear the chlorine.
Yeah.
You do. And you need to get rid of that fear. And maybe it's a meditation. Maybe it's going to take time. Maybe it's going to who knows, but you could have you can be making the best decision. But if you are in fear when you're making it, the actions you're going to take are not going to be the actions that get you the result you want. So I just love that. What did you love that he said?
Well, it's funny. I guess we rolled right into it. He also said, is it possible, he asked, is it possible to outlearn fear? And then later on in the conversation, he said, maybe we should say outgrow fear instead of outlearn fear. And he talked about his own experience with his coaches, because he's still, again, he's a product of his product. And he said, when he gets to a new place with his company, where now he's like hiring coaches and stuff, and he never had that before. So now he's, encountering new obstacles. It's still, he goes through this process of fear. And he said, that's when he goes back to his coaches and they sit down and talk. But this idea of outgrowing fear, he said he's beginning to recognize it in his own thinking a little bit more today, and help him, snap that rubber band, as it were, to kind of reset. Where before he might actually, this was really interesting, and I'm gonna kind of roll this in. I really loved when he said, so should I just not have fear? Should I not feel the fear? And he said, no, we don't want to nullify your humanity. He said, you should experience, all the feels, right? Like Lesley says, feel all the feels. You should be happy, sad, angry, afraid, joyful, exuberant. You should still feel all the feels. He said, but where we have a choice is how long do you feel the feels?
Yeah.
Right. And so when you encounter fear, how long do you want to stay in that moment of fear? Because it could be, holy hell. I remember with my old job, I was effectively in a perpetual state of stress, which is like equivalent to fear, right? Like perpetual for months.
Yeah.
Years?
I think a lot of people are for years. They're constantly afraid the next shoe's going to drop. And so it's like, what I love that we talked about in that whole segment was like, start to notice when you're feeling that, and then you can speed up the process of getting out of it faster.
Yeah.
And I do think that you can get to a point where you almost can laugh when that fear comes up. Like, oh my God, okay, that's me being a human. Here's what we're gonna do, and it will be for different fears. You may be for some things I can catch them really quickly when it comes to our business. I'm like, oh, that's my fear right there. With other things that it might be with like family or your health or your life, that you might still be learning what those signs are. So just give yourself permission to be aware.
All right, finally, let's talk about those be it action items. What bold, executable, intrinsic, and targeted action items can we take away from your conversation with Chris Goodman? I think that we covered some of this already, but find a coach and commit to it, right? Be a product of your product. And we, especially at the beginning when we were answering the question, why do you still have a coach? I think we covered that pretty intentionally, but you know, this is something you have to seek out. You have to go actually, you know, look for a coach. And like I said at the beginning, it doesn't have to be business coaching. It could be
a knitting mentor. It could be a life coach.
Life coaching. I mean, and the idea of life coaching is always weird because it's a very amorphous thing. But if you do have a pastor who, you know, is, you know, relatable, that could be a life coach for you, or that could be a coach for you.
Yeah, there's so many different kinds out there, and you may need a coach for different parts of your life. So I think I agree with that be it item. I loved it.
What about you?
Learn to witness your own thoughts, which just goes back into what you were talking about. Be aware of what is happening inside. You don't have to live in a state of misery. So notice, sometimes you might not notice the thoughts before you notice the feelings. Like if I start to live in a stressed out state, my body starts to tell me sometimes before my mind does. And so you actually,
breath.
Oh,
right. Chris was talking about breath and the shortness of breath and the shortness of your words, the explosiveness of the words.
Yeah. If you were like doing just fine and then you read something and then you snap at the next person you talk to, that's your sign. Something is going on.
If you suddenly yell at the dogs.
Yeah.
When you were chill a minute before, whatever it is, you know, you're taking it out on your dogs, right? Like
100%. 100%. So I think like start to just witness if you're unsure of what state is what in your body, just take a week where you're like, this is what I'm going to focus. I'm just going to focus on how I'm reacting to things. And you're not going to fix it overnight, but you get to, and as we already talked about, you're not going to outlearn it, but you are going to be able to speed up the process to which you get out of the state of misery that you're in.
Yeah.
So I'm obsessed. I'm so glad we got to finally have him on.
That was great episode.
Fun. Chris, thank you so freaking much. Okay, everyone, how are you going to use these tips in your life? What did you use? What were your takeaways? What were our takeaways, your takeaways? We want to know. Tag the Beit Pod. And I'm Lesley Logan.
I'm Brad Crowell.
Thank you so much for joining us. We are so grateful. Tag us on the pod. Write us a review. Let us know what your favorite episode is. And until next time, be it till you see it.
Bye for now.
That's all I got for this episode of the Be It Till You See It podcast. One thing that would help both myself and future listeners is for you to rate the show and leave a review. And follow or subscribe for free wherever you listen to your podcast. Also, make sure to introduce yourself over at the Be It Pod on Instagram. I would love to know more about you. Share this episode with whoever you think needs to hear it. Help us and others be it till you see it. Have an awesome day. Be It Till You See It is a production of As the Crows Fly Media.
It's written, produced, filmed, and recorded by your host, Lesley Logan, and me, Brad Crowell. Our associate producer is Amanda Fraterelli.
Kevin Perez at Desenio handles all of our audio editing.
Our theme music is by Ali at Apex Production Music, and our branding by designer and artist Gianfranco Cioffi.
Special thanks to our designer Jairo Mandal for creating all of our visuals, which you can't see because this is a podcast, and our digital producer, Jay Perdoso, for editing all the video each week so you can.
And to Angelina Herrico for transcribing each of our episodes so you can find them on our website. And finally, to Meredith Crowell for keeping us all on point and on time.